Yes.
I have a free studio up in here. We do stuff on the fly.
I'm not gonna win this one. I'm out, but I'm gonna try. I'm gonna try to come up on this, but you picked the one area where I agree. I can't. I'll try to play the opposite, but this is gonna be hard.
All right, man, we got them all lined up. Nail this little sucker. Come on, which one is he? Point to him.
It's me. You should have gave me some more. I'm nasty.
I'm nasty. That's funny. It could have been fun as a comedy sketch,
Snitch on
but
a
not as an
player.
advertisement.
No.
He's wearing the do-rag.
Snitches get stitches, fool.
Come on, it's the one with the 4 legs.
You thought you was gonna catch me? Keep your mouth shut.
No.
Keep your mouth shut.
No.
I'm gonna get out of here and I'm gonna do you up. Keep your mouth shut.
I can't do this! I can't do this! No! 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 No!
She's just got to do it.
You're never gonna catch me!
K-Talk AM 1150, your voice. It's Mo Kelly in the morning with the K-Talk Wrecking Crew. I like to keep it free-flowing in the studio. We were discussing this Mountain Dew commercial. This, what has been termed as arguably the most racist commercial of all time. Then longtime friend and colleague Adam Contras walked in the studio. And I guess you could term him as the first and longest video blogger of all time. Longtime radio professional as well. And he wanted to get in on this conversation.
It's not exactly how that.
Well, that's the way I'm telling it.
I walked into this one, man.
And let's set the stage. You're a longtime media professional.
Yep.
Video and audio.
Yep.
And you are not someone who is African American.
I'm not.
You've
So
heard
I've
and
played
seen.
one on TV.
Uh-oh.
See?
Well, see.
No,
but
bad.
describe your
bad.
features. Describe your features so people can get a visual of you.
I'm a little tan, right?
Mhm.
I mean, I've had some issues looking Arab. I've been
Yes,
told.
you could pass easily.
But no, I'm white.
Okay.
Please.
So you've seen this commercial. You've heard this commercial. What was your first response?
Laughably, the most racist thing I'd ever seen, to such a degree that I went, okay, what am I missing here? Like, what is going on?
There's no discussion to be had.
No, there's no discussion. But I also know that I'm of a certain age where, my wires are up to that stuff, and I can go, okay, clearly this is, we've seen this our whole lives, right? That's when I realized that it had a lot more to do with youth, and that they're targeting 15-year-olds who probably think that was funny. Because
I'm
it's
sure
so
they think it's
stupid.
funny.
Right.
In the Steve-O jackass tradition.
Right. So I think we're all talking as a bunch of old people, not understanding how things are shifting a little bit. It's just something to be aware of. Now, this is a bad example. There are other examples that we would say is racist, obvious. But I'm telling you, man, the younger generation doesn't see it like that. They almost think of racism as a joke. Do you see what I'm saying?
Is it they see racism as a joke, or they do not know racism and understand it and be able to identify beyond the overt actions of the 60s and cross burnings and lynchings?
I think they're past it. I think they see something that happened in black and white, and that was 300 years ago to them. All right? So they're just moving on. They have friends that are black. Especially in L.A., they have friends that are every minority possible, and that's funny. And they just move on. We all take it seriously because our parents, our grandparents, us even, but more, other generations that we were close to, they saw some real stuff.
Why is it we take it, this is a rhetorical question, but there's a real answer here. Why is it we take it so seriously even still? We got a black man in the White House.
You know why we take it so seriously? Because we have a black man in the White House and he can still be called a porch monkey. By his peers.
But that's never going to go away. It's
and,
never
and,
going to go away.
And it never is because we don't check it. We don't check it and even go to the young people and say, hey, you need to wake up and see what's happening right under your noses that you're busy laughing at, and you have no idea how this affects you in society as a whole.
So you're saying that you're trying to make a connection between what happens, I'll say, in a record like Thank you for that.
Hey, you got the
This is
silver
radio.
sword,
You
dog.
still have to turn off your phone.
I'm sorry.
McBain.
It's on vibrate now. I apologize.
Thank you.
Legend of Zelda.
Okay. They don't understand that it's offensive where you have a starring goat and he's quote unquote African American, and the history, if we want to juxtapose that to black people being considered animals. They don't understand. They don't have a historical reference point, and is that their fault or ours?
Man, you know, I know you got to overthink this stuff so you have something to talk about, but
You saying it's real easy.
I'm telling you, man, you brought in Bugs Bunny? Like, are we going to start slamming Bugs Bunny now?
No. My point is that because we don't check the youth, we now have to look at situations like what happens in Stupidville, as I call it, and then we want to get up in arms when it becomes a problem.
I meant to give out the number. I'll give
I'm 35. I still like Legend of Zelda. Okay.
Is it I can't find that spot on WorldStar.
Oh,
what page is it on?
Just type in Mountain Dew.
Adam, you giving me exactly what I wanted. Be able to round out the conversation.
He knew that.
I'm joined by the K-Talk Wrecking Crew and also radio and television media professional colleague Adam Contras. And he joins me in studio to provide a perspective maybe outside what we've been discussing here. He's not African American, but he could pass for Middle Eastern. That should count for something, right, Adam?
Oh, man, I guess it could. I can't really pass for Middle Eastern. Depending on where I'm at. I was in Africa, actually, and they all thought I was Arab.
That would make sense.
It just depends on where you're at. Everybody else thinks I'm Italian, and I'm actually
the
Greek,
assumption relative to where you are, 877-520-1150. Adam, you brought up a very great point, in this respect that you felt this is a generational shift. We are moving in a direction where those people who are near 40 or over 40 can see this and identify this commercial exactly for what it is instantaneously, whereas the commercial is targeted to someone who's under the age of 20 who sees a very different world, who may not even remember more than one president who was not African American.
All right, let me put it this way. There was a shift when I was a kid in the 80s where there were still racist jokes, but it turned into the joke on the racist. Mm-hmm. You would tell them to almost make fun of the fact that people even ever thought that. But you were still telling them. Now you don't tell them as much. There's a shift. You go from telling racist jokes because you're racist.
The overt racist.
Yeah. They're actually saying, isn't this funny? Mm-hmm. Black guy can't get a job, those kind of jokes or whatever. Mm-hmm. Then it becomes telling that joke, going, can you believe people actually believe this? Oh, my God, can you believe this is, to the point now where we're at where you just don't say that stuff anymore because we're kind of past that, unless you're completely insane.
But when I look at this ad, if it were created by, and I have to say it is created by a white agency because ultimately that commercial does not get made without the approval of the marketing heads at Mountain Dew / Pepsi. Tyler, the creator, might have created it, but he doesn't distribute it. Someone had to say yes. And the first time they saw that commercial, you knew then.
Right.
You knew that we're going to have this problem.
But you're taking out there's an old young thing. You know those suits at Pepsi are old.
But they should be able to recognize it as we do.
I understand that, but they see a young black guy come in, and this is what he pitches to them. Well, they're like, well, this is what the youth is doing. I guess they're making satire almost out of race. So they need to sell to youth. And as you said off the air, black people don't drink Diet Mountain Dew. Mountain Dew?
Yes,
you're
right.
Stuff.
You're correct.
This young black guy is saying this is, well.
The only way this could have been worse if it was for Grape Crush.
Right.
That's the only, and I say it to be funny but also serious because it embodies just about every stereotype with the exception of that. That's the only way I could have been more offended.
I wondered who drank Grape Crush. I had no idea.
Yes,
apparently.
I think the word's out.
Yeah, had no idea there.
This is where I'm going to go with this, The longer we allow hip-hop to give us our social cues of what's acceptable and unacceptable, we're going to have these problems.
Yeah.
collectively, people are moving away from music and into different types of media with
Agreed.
internet and so forth. So
Agreed.
it just isn't as important as it was. Elvis was important to everybody. The Beatles were important to everybody.
He
and then
never
it kind
meant
of slowly
ish to
went
me.
away.
Unfortunately,
no, to that
Yeah, I know.
generation.
Yeah,
To that generation.
Unfortunately, though, music is still extremely prevalent. That is why these cats are on the cover of Time magazine and Rolling
Time
Stone.
magazine. Who has ever read Time magazine in the past 5 years?
The simple fact that it is put up there as Jay-Z on the cover of Time magazine being
wait,
this
Jay-Z,
important.
You're going to compare Jay-Z and Lil Wayne?
I'm talking about someone who is
Contemporaries,
still
yeah.
kicking these same irresponsible lyrics. Yes, what has Jay-Z said or done that is responsible or redeeming for society?
I have got to do my homework before I walk back in
it's
here
okay.
again.
That's
Okay,
fine.
to be fair, okay, Jay-Z has said some positive things in music. Lil Wayne, I can't think of anything. And I don't like Jay-Z, but I gotta, back up Adam here.
The music industry is not what it used to be to the generation now that it was before. Music used to be everything 20, 30, 40, 50 years ago. But if you look at the influence, I just think it's a smaller and smaller and smaller percentage. Most kids are on the internet. They're playing games. They're doing other things. They're not listening to music the same way they did.
You know where they are on the internet as well? They're on these artists' Twitter pages and their Facebook pages following their every word
But
to a
look at
T.
the numbers. It's like 1 million.
1 million times at least 100 artists who are on Facebook putting this
And they're
garbage
not
out
just
there.
touching them
That's
when they release a
100
song.
million.
They release-
so
they
now,
hit 'em every
exactly.
single day,
So now
5
we've
to
got
6 times a
100
week.
million.
50 million
And
people
counting.
a week watched MASH. Like you're come on.
One
Yeah, I
time,
mean, we're
but that's
talking-
one
That-
impression.
that's
one
one.
impression per week.
Yes.
And
Now
it
we're
was a
now we're
bigger
talking
impression
daily. We're talking every single minute an artist puts out some garbage, and we've got 100 million plus kids following that.
He is making a
Yes, we actually said if this was a comic bit or a comedic act, we would look at it differently. But therein lies the distinction. When you're selling a product and you're promoting and advertising, that is looked through a different prism as opposed to some sort of comedy bit. There are a lot of things which went on in Dave Chappelle that I don't want in a McDonald's ad.
Yeah, but McDonald's advertised on Dave Chappelle. So it's the same thing. Everybody's all together. If
That was
that
Whack
bit was on,
Arnold's. That wasn't McDonald's.
Yeah, but I'm saying the advertisers of those shows were supporting whatever was on those shows. So it's a pretty thin line. If you agree that that was a funny comedy bit for a commercial, how can you not agree that a comedy bit on Living Color that had commercial support wasn't?
Because for me, I can't speak for everyone else, I'm not holding the advertisers as endorsing every single thing that is going on in Living Color.
You should be, because they
some
are.
people do, well, some people do. No, they're endorsing their viewership.
Oh, no.
They're
come
endorsing
on.
their viewership.
If that were
they
true,
want the
people,
most eyes.
If that were true, people wouldn't be pulling ads when Ellen came out back then, or you know what I'm saying? Like,
no,
come on.
they're responsive then to how people view them relative to where their ads are. But in the way that these advertising agencies will put out these commercials, they're going to put those commercials next to shows which are going to garner the greatest amount of eyeballs. That's why they pay $4 million for a Super Bowl spot.
Right, and the content, and trust me, the advertisers were upset when Janet Jackson's boob came out, and that's why CBS got in all that trouble, because the advertisers didn't want that show.
Hold that thought.
Yeah, I was talking to Tuala, and I was pointing out the fact that the goat is a symbol of the devil.
For many people in religious, yes, there is a connotation there, but it depends on how deep you want to go into it. And then we are out of time, and I understand as far as symbolism where all this leads. Last thoughts, Adam, 30 seconds.
Oh man, the devil, like, I just fell over when you said that. I mean, you could overthink everything and think everything is something. Obviously it's racist, but now the devil is raping white women.
Tuala, last thoughts.
Just have to laugh. All I have to say is that when they made this ad, they knew what was going on in it. They knew that it was racist, and they still cleared it. They knew then.
They knew then. You knew then.
You knew then, and you did nothing.
Tune in tomorrow. There is so much more that we did not get to today that we will address tomorrow. Don't go anywhere. Randy Rhodes is coming up next. You're listening to K-Talk AM 1150. Your voice. I'm Mo Kelly. Have a good day.
KT.
13 seconds to spare.
You gotta come by more often.
You come in here and just start blowing shit up.